Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Jamie Lee, and I'm joined by my husband, Mr. Jared Lee. Hello, Jared.
Hello to you.
So, usually I open with a question. Like, that's my jam here on this show. I like to say, hey, question for you, Jared, and then go on.
Uh-huh.
But this week we're just going to say, hey, we had a hurricane come through Florida. No question here, just a statement.
I thought you were going to say, we had a hurricane?
We did.
I mean, where we were at, first off, for the people that were affected, hope they recover, thoughts and prayers and all that stuff, because some of that stuff looks bad. But where we were, it didn't really do anything. I was kind of, the night of was a little windy, but not really much rain. And the next day it was sunny and 82. So
I know. It was crazy. I mean, it shifted a little bit more to the west. And I think that we would have gotten a lot more of it had it stayed on its current path that they thought it was going to do. But it went a little bit more left, and that's kind of why we didn't get much of it. But they did cancel Halloween Horror Nights on that Thursday. Volcano Bay was closed, but that's really it. The hotels were still open, obviously. They didn't even close Islands or Universal Studios. City Walk was open. It just kind of functioned as normal because really Orlando didn't really get much anything. Just a lot of rain and wind, and that's it.
No. We have ridden out a hurricane at Universal Studios, though. We stayed at Cabana Bay. I think it was for Ian.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the same weekend.
Yeah. That's true.
Which is crazy.
But that was, I'm sure we did an episode on it. But
we did. Mm-hmm.
It was actually a pretty fun experience for riding out a hurricane. They had a lot of characters come out, and it was almost like, as it goes in Florida, it very much becomes like a hurricane party. But
and that was a lot more serious though, because of where it was going for Orlando.
Right. Well, that one was I believe that was a Cat 5 whenever it went in at landfall. So it was a big one. But it's as someone from the Midwest, I don't like either tornadoes or hurricanes. Just where we stand on how those. I don't like either one of them.
Does anybody like them?
That's the thing. I don't like either one. But if I had to choose, I still contend I would rather deal with hurricanes because at least they're coming. Whereas a tornado usually it's 2 a.m. and then you wake up out of your sleep trying to figure out what to do. But
you've got 5 minutes,
if even sometimes,
right.
But but even though it's coming, they move so much. So a lot of people ask us the storm's coming. What should I do about? I have a trip coming up, and it's it's just really hard to know because I hate seeing people cancel trips and then nothing happened.
Right.
And then, obviously you got to deal with flight delays and, or cancellations. So it just throws a wrench into things, and then sometimes it'll move and then it doesn't do anything. So it's just, it's just one of those things. But I still like the heads up.
For sure.
I don't like what they do, but it is nice at least knowing that they're coming.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yes, definitely. Yeah, but we're looking at all the damage that was caused in North Carolina.
That stuff was bad. Yeah.
I mean, they got it pretty bad. I think Asheville got it really bad.
A lot of places did,
yeah. So, yeah.
At least I look at it this way. A hurricane is like a house guest that calls you a week ahead of time. And you're like, ugh, and you can get ready for him to stay versus a tornado is just someone that just shows up on your front door. Be like, hey, can I stay the night? And you're like, oh, this is the worst. It's just,
That's not even it. That's not even it. No, it's the restaurant. The restaurant analogy. Remember that one I told you?
I don't.
Remember a hurricane, they make their reservation. They say they're coming, and sometimes they do or don't show up. It just depends, right? But a tornado, they're walking in, or they're just calling about 2 minutes before they walk in the door and say, hey, I want to be seated right now.
I like mine better. It affects your home. I like mine better, but it's the same thing. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But anyway, so we have some news today we're going to talk about, and we also did I guess it's a quick service, but it's more like a walk up. But we have a review of somewhere in Islands of Adventure we've never had, and we're going to talk about that as well. But first, we have some housekeeping we want to cover, and I'm going to throw it over to Jared.
Yes. Well, first off, if you're watching us over on YouTube, over at CTM Podcast, where we have video versions of the show, we just ask you to please like this video and subscribe to the channel there. And if you're not, if you didn't know it existed or you'd rather watch, the episodes, you can do that over there. And if you're listening just on the good old fashioned, just trusty audio podcast form, always there, just simple on your phone and everything like that. We greatly appreciate that. Just ask you please subscribe on whatever platform you listen on and leave us a review, as that would help us continue to grow the show. And if you want even more content, if you want to contribute to the show, you want to interact with a cool group of people, you want to go to some meetups, you can look at joining Club 32, and that's our private group where it's like our own Patreon. We just host it on our own end. We have a private Facebook group. We have live streams. We have the Club 32 show every Tuesday. We have many times in-room live streams when we're at the parks. It depends on what's going on in the park. Sometimes we go live in the parks, something new is going on and things like that. We also have the Cool Kids Kitchen once a month. We've got the Clubhouse show and private podcast feed where we get music loops and all sorts of things. Plus, you get 25% off of CTM apparel and 1901 Candle Company products. And like I said, meetups and all sorts of stuff. So if you want to head on over there, you can go to ctmvip.com. We have monthly or yearly options. You could even do a free trial if you just want to see if it's for you first. But yeah, that's the best way to, a lot of people ask how to contribute to the show. That's the easiest one. Plus, you get a good group of people to interact with, and we get to interact a little bit more in there and all that stuff like that. So again, if you want to join there, ctmvip.com is where you go. And if you'd like to join, we'd love to have you. So
awesome.
I will throw it back to you. Hopefully you can catch it.
Thank you. And I caught it. Okay, great. All right. So starting with some news today. Sadly, Dame Maggie Smith, who plays Professor McGonagall in the Harry Potter films, passed away last week at the age of 89.
Yes. So she was obviously in Harry Potter, but she's been in a lot of stuff. I remember her a lot. As this is going to sound funny, but I remember, I don't know why, when we were kids, we watched Sister Act 1 and 2 a lot.
I loved Sister Act 2.
I mean, who doesn't love some Whoopi, apparently?
I mean, seriously.
Not now, but anyways, back then I did. But yeah, so she was in obviously the Harry Potter movies, Downton Abbey.
And I'm just thinking about, these are like things that like we would know her from. And she did a lot of extensive work, like British. I mean, she's like...
She was one, so a lot of people don't understand like the British actors, like the way that it's set up over there. It's a state-funded thing where like the reason a lot of the British actors are better is because they legitimately just spent time almost doing like circuits of acting. I mean, you got like her and like Ian McKellen, those types of like, they grew up doing that stuff. So that's one reason. But yeah, she was involved in that. Obviously the Sister Act movies, Best Exotic, Marigold Hotel movies, Hook, First Wives Club. She was in a lot of stuff. She's in a lot of stuff that you'll just watch a movie and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that she was in there. But yeah, she also got nominated for 6 Oscars. She won 2 of them. And then she actually, this is pretty interesting, she passed away exactly 1 year after Michael Gambon, who played Dumbledore.
Yeah.
So, sadly, a lot of the Harry Potter cast, I mean, obviously the teachers and the older ones from the films, like Robbie Coltrane.
They're getting up there. Yep.
Yeah, and like Alan Rickman and those. I mean, a lot of those are started, which is sad. A lot of them have, passed away. So, but 89 is a good life. It's a long, good life. But yeah,
we had to hold on tight to Warwick Davis. Hold on tight, bro.
How old is Warwick Davis?
Okay, I actually can tell you this. He was 12 in 1982. When he was 12 when they were filming Jedi, because he had to replace the guy that was supposed to be R2-D2. Like he got sick or something, so he had to be R2-D2 for a little bit, and he was 12.
Okay.
Man, yeah. So
you're asking me to do math?
No. So that would mean he'd be like 40, or no, 50.
He'd be in his 50s.
So 50 something. So we got him for a little bit longer.
Okay.
But yeah, hold on to those older, older generation that was in the movies. So
hold on to them. If you see them, grab them.
Serious.
You may. I don't know what.
Serious. Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman.
I don't know. I love Gary Oldman.
I know. Me too.
He's good. He's probably like honestly one of my favorite actors is Gary Oldman.
Mm-hmm. He said that he would go back and do the HBO show that they're doing if they asked him.
If they don't ask him, they're out of their minds. Because I would love to see. Now, I'm not going to claim to be the biggest Harry Potter fan and things like that. But which one of the movies was he in? Which book was it?
We first saw him in Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah, because it's Sirius Black.
Yeah.
I would love to see like a whole season involving him. Because I just, like if he could, he was, that was my favorite movie of him in there with that. I felt like that movie was like, that was the one where they kind of like when they grew up the most. They went from a kiddie franchise to like more like, this is serious.
Darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so that was sad, but
yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the next part of the news here. There will be an Epic Universe panel at the New York Comic Con next month.
There will. So I was actually alerted to this by somebody on the YouTube channel commented and said this, and I looked into it, and I was like, oh, I had not heard this. But so the panel will be held October 19th, and it is titled Universal Epic Universe, the creation of Universal's game-changing new theme park. And the description is, a new Universal Orlando theme park opens next year, and we couldn't be more excited. Join members of the Universal Destinations and Experiences creative team for an exclusive panel to discuss the creation of Epic Universe, which includes Super Nintendo World, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, and more. And it is moderated by Fandom's Chris Hayner. I guess the question with this is, first off, the why would they go here is like, are they going to announce perhaps like an opening date here for this?
Possibly.
Maybe. They also could just be going, I mean, again, Comic-Con, you're talking about theme parks, so they could be just trying to get more of, I wouldn't call the Comic-Con audience a normie audience, but more of like people that are into these subjects of like, hey, we have this new theme park to check out. Because not everybody, a lot of people obviously are excited for Epic Universe, but not everybody's even aware of it because some people just aren't into theme parks. But I don't know. Well, it's been interesting because there hasn't been, Universal's gone really quiet the past month. Mm-hmm. They were really, they had those announcement videos, and they're having their Inside Universal podcast, releasing more things. And then all of a sudden, like, we were hearing the rumblings if there was a land that's behind and that it may not open as early as they hoped. And since then, there really hasn't been anything from Universal in terms of anything really coming out. So
you think there's some truth to that, where it is delayed and they're just kind of like,
I don't know,
shuffling their feet?
It's hard to know. If you look at Super Nintendo World, I just did an update video. So if you want to check out the latest construction progress, you can check it out over at Captain Magic on YouTube. There's it's like a 15-minute video outlining the recent progress. But if you look at the lands, Super Nintendo World's probably the most behind in terms of compared to the other lands. But again, I don't know in terms of maybe that's how it's supposed to be, and other crews will come in and finish it up. So I don't know. That is a rumor. I think Lynn Testa had said that he talked to people that could be the case.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that ever since August, I'm like, we're going to hear something before the holidays, surely. So it would make sense in terms of the timeline that they would announce something. Now, I don't know if they would do it at a Comic-Con. I feel like they would do it how they've been doing the videos when they release those. They could coincide the two of them, but I definitely think we'll hear something before the holidays because yet again, most people going for the holidays. A lot of people plan their, summer vacations and stuff for the next year. So I would assume anywhere from now until sometime in November, we're going to hear something about a park opening.
Well, let me ask you something. We've never been around in this capacity as we are now when a new park has opened.
Right.
So what's the, how far in advance are you supposed to give guests to be able to plan? Is opening in, April of 2025 too soon now? We're September, October, pretty much 6 months away if you decide to open in April. So is that a way of saying hey, haven't announced an opening date yet, officially? We just know 2025. Is it going to be in the fall? That gives you a full year.
I don't think it's going to open in the fall because from what I have heard, and this was, again, Lynn Tess is the one that had said this, and I've heard rumblings of similar things that if a land is behind in its progress, that Universal would look at perhaps doing a phased opening where whatever land is behind, it just wouldn't be available upon opening. Now, that's not your ideal scenario, but at the same time, they put a lot of money into this park, so they want it to open soon. And they have, they've got a really good opportunity. There's a lot of hype around it. But I don't know. I would assume 6 month-ish, if I can talk. That would be somewhere around the timeline you would probably want to give people. Now, you'd have to consider the other rumor out there is that there will be, maybe multiple months of AP previews. So, if you're talking AP previews starting sometime in April, the park opens in June, July. That's still could be the case. They did have a sweepstakes that's still ongoing where the end date, it's a sweepstakes to win a trip to Epic Universe. The end date on the sweepstakes is sometime in June. That doesn't necessarily mean that's when the park's opening.
Yeah, I can't really go by that.
But it does kind of, it doesn't mean that's when the trip will happen. But there, all of this is speculation, obviously, right now.
Right.
But it's hard to know. Now, one thing that is for certain is, at least from the news reports, a lot of people were saying they're obviously doing the road construction around Epic Universe, and Epic cannot open until that road construction is done. But that is supposed to be wrapped up by the end of the year. So it doesn't sound like the road construction is going to be the thing that delays Epic Universe. A lot of people are assuming that, but like they've got that circular overpass and they've got the dedicated bus lanes for Universal.
Yeah.
It was I cannot remember the news station. It was something Orlando 6. They had reported that they were talking to somebody and they said it should be done by the end of the year. So that part's good. So that just means if it is delayed, it is something to do specifically with perhaps a ride or the land and things like that, which isn't unheard. I mean, when Galaxy's Edge opened, I mean, they did open that with just Smuggler's Run. Rise of the Resistance was not available when it opened. So it's not unprecedented that something like this could happen.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see if they do decide to announce anything. October 19th is the day. So we'll keep our ears open and our eyes open as well.
We'll keep everything open.
Let's keep everything open.
Yeah, either way, if there's a live stream of this, I will be all up on this on the Captain Magic YouTube channel for sure.
Yeah, for real.
So hopefully, I mean, I would love for them to announce an opening date.
That would be great.
That'd be great, but yeah.
All right, moving on to the next story is the IBCCES card, which is the one you get for special accommodations for riding attractions and such in the parks, is no longer required.
Yeah, they made this change last week. So Universal system works different than Disney's. So like Jamie said, this IBCCES card is one where you had to apply for it like 48 hours before your trip. And then you had to, they used a third party. So you did have to submit some documentation. I don't know the extent. We've never had to use these passes. So we're not super, familiar with this, but just in terms of what we know about this. But yeah, so they came out and said that you can still obtain an IAC card through the service, but you can also just go to guest services at the park to receive an AA pass for Universal and Islands of Adventure on the day of.
Yeah.
So now that one I do believe it's more short term. You would have to renew that
every time you go.
Yeah.
You have to get a new one every time you go.
So it's one of those things where I'm thinking they probably had a lot of people that just didn't know they needed to do that. And this is, obviously there's been a lot of talk about these passes with Disney doing theirs and a lot of people being unhappy. I guess on some level, do you think this is, I can tell you how I think. Do you think this is some sort of reaction to maybe competitive versus Disney, or do you think they just saw the need for this and decided, okay, let's just simplify this and make it easier to, maybe not worry about fraud or people that don't need it getting it and just make it easier for the people that need to get it?
Probably that. I think part of it is they listened to some of the guests out there that were just like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that, or I didn't know I had to do that before I went. And I think they were just mostly listening, like social media especially, going, okay, we need to make this available for day of, even if it's just for that day or length of stay or however they want to interpret that.
Right.
That's okay. The good thing about the IBCCES, they call it the IAC card, is that you can use it at other parks. It's not just good for Universal. You can use it at SeaWorld. You can use it at Six Flags. You can use it at places that use the same service. So there is an advantage to going that route and setting all that up and beforehand, and it's good for a year. So, you can use a lot of traveling you can do in a year.
Yeah.
So there are some perks to it, but I definitely see the fact that like getting it the day of and just enjoying your day and not having to worry about it is something to be said for that. And I think if Disney was smart, they would do some changes or undo some changes they've made in the last couple months.
Yeah, I think now one thing I will say about Universal, they do for a big, again, they're a large company. They're owned by Comcast. They're not, some mom and pop shop, running things. They do a really good job of listening to guest feedback. And that's one thing I will say. I've been going to Universal as much as we have in the past, especially the last 5 years. They seem to really take note of what the guest wants and really try and deliver on that. So on that end, and again, I'm assuming they got a lot of feedback and they said, okay, we need to make this change. So I do applaud them for that. Now, I do think on some level it is a competitive thing with Disney. I'm not saying they did it for this reason, but a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, are really unhappy with Disney and their DAS system.
Yeah.
And I think, and just even from stuff I've seen on social media and comments on the YouTube videos, a lot of people have said, yeah, I'll go to Universal because I'm not. First off, it's like the whole thing with Disney is you have to buy the tickets and then you got to go through this process where a lot of people, they've even said the system was designed for autism. A lot of those people are being denied. There was a story of an 8-year-old boy that had really bad autism that they denied a DAS pass for, and they basically they had to leave early and stuff like that. So I think on some level it ends up being a competitive advantage. I don't think that's the reason they did it, but I do like the idea that they're saying, okay, sure, there's going to be some fraud probably that comes along with this, but at the end of the day, you're trying to provide a service for people that do need it for a disability thing. So I think it's a good thing. Now, I have no clue. We're obviously talking about Universal here. No clue what Disney will do. If they do something, it'll be probably a year from now because they just do things much slower. But I do think that this is, from what I've heard and how it seems, that this is a much more guest-friendly way to do it. I guess I put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next story real quick is the Rock the Universe lineup has been announced. And honestly, on this list of artists, and I'm not familiar with too many, honestly, I listen to a lot of 80s and 90s. I'm not really familiar with the new stuff. But the only lineup, or only name in the lineup that I recognize is like, let's see, I'll just read it to you. Brandon Lake, Matthew West, Rend Collective, KB, Katie Nicole, Tasha Layton, Iveth Luna, is it Kokui?
I'm get Kokul?
I don't know. Aaron Cole, Forrest Frank, Bethel Music, Elevation Rhythm, Josiah Queen, Taya, Caleb Gordon, Consumed by Fire, and then Allison Edie, I think is the name. I recognize Brandon Lake, I recognize Tasha Layton, and I recognize Elevation.
Yeah, I'm aware of Ren Collective, which I do like them, but the other ones, I've heard of Elevation, but the other ones I can't say that I'm too up on, but they will be there. One
thing I wanted to point out is that the tickets for this event are actually like super cheap. And what I'll mention that is that it's $163.99 per person. So it's $164 per person to attend the 3-day weekend. That includes admission to the park.
Yeah, that's not a bad deal.
So what's the math on that? Like a little under $60 a day for 3 parks plus admission to the concert.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, why wouldn't you do that? And you get discounts if you're a pass holder.
That, and if you're a group as well, I think they said youth ministries groups start at like $145 per person. If you're like part of a group.
There's no wonder this thing is run over by teens.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I would want to be in the parks during this event, but if you do enjoy the music and things like that, it's it's not a bad way to do this and also experience the theme parks.
Exactly. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it's a big deal over there. So
yeah, it's very popular, and they set up the stage. Is it in the same place it was last year, right in front of Central Park?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
I would assume. Yeah.
Yep. But yep. So, all right, moving on to the next story real quick is there's a new Jurassic World Gyrosphere popcorn bucket for sale.
I do like a popcorn bucket. Oh, and the gyrosphere is the circular vehicle they used in Jurassic World. Gotcha.
There's a raptor on the top. It's blue.
Okay.
Blue's on the top of it, and it's $30 for the.
Does it light up or anything?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know. It just looks like, I think the popcorn goes inside the gyrosphere where you're supposed to be sitting.
That would make sense. That's a good place to put it.
I'm just saying.
Although some of the popcorn buckets are, when they call them buckets, the little. You're getting a little loose with the term bucket, but I actually enjoy it. We have one in the office, the Bumblebee one, which is the favorite one I've seen. But I do like these buckets. I think they're pretty cool. And this is something that obviously you're seeing in like Disney and movies with like Deadpool, Wolverine. Like this has become one of those things where, people can get them and they're not that expensive. Like you think about like a souvenir, something like $29 it's not cheap, but it's not like as expensive as getting like a statue of something. You know what I mean? Like it's much more cost effective, and you can collect them and things. But now I do wish they had the Bumblebee Transformer bucket. I really wish and hope they do like an Optimus Prime. I don't know why they wouldn't.
That would be good.
I would love it.
That'd be great.
And if it talked, it'd be even better.
Well, yeah, duh.
He goes, "Come with me, freedom fighter." I wish I could. If I could talk like Peter Cullen, that's all I would do is voice work. You'd see me everywhere, just commercials. You'd be like, "Is that Jared again?" Like, oh,
it is again.
I'm just doing it all.
He is. Wow. But all right, the next one is the making of Illumination's Villain Con Minion Blast is on Peacock, and it basically takes you through the creative process of designing, building, and opening the attraction, which is kind of interesting. I think it's only like 11 minutes long.
It's hard to say that. I mean, I feel like that ride is somewhat controversial with people because I think a lot of people are very critical of it, and it obviously doesn't have a lot of like a high wait time for it. But I've contended all along it was meant for like families and kids, so it wasn't supposed to be this like Velocicoaster type ride. But I mean, I like seeing behind the scenes stuff. I would really interested to see if they eventually ever do like behind the scenes like Epic Universe. Like I assume they're going to do that. Because I feel like that creative process, I'm very interested in. This one, I mean, they had a building, that building in there. They probably had an idea of what they wanted to do. But I'll probably check it out because I'm curious about what they'll show in there. But,
me too. Yeah. And the last thing in the news is that there have been more annual pass holder dates that have been added to the Halloween Horror Nights schedule this year. And what I mean by that is that the premier pass holders every year, they get basically free admission to one specific night or just one night out of a couple that they offer for Halloween Horror Nights. And this year they added the 28th, 29th, October 5th, 6th, 18th, 20th, and 27th. So they had they made a list of all the ones that are available, and they ended up adding like 7. And they added these after they canceled Halloween Horror Nights on Thursday. So I'm wondering if they're just like, well, let's just add more for the ones that were going to go and can't or something. I don't know.
Possibly.
Or maybe they all, maybe they're always going to add more. I don't know. But anyway, so that is that.
Yes, and we are also still planning on going to Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes. Hopefully we can go on Thursday. That's still the plan.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can do it. And what's nice about Universal, and again, is the ease of just coming and going, and really don't have to be like, hey, let me book my my fast passes and let me do this and this. The Universal, like, we're just gonna show up.
Especially even with it now. Next year it changes, but this year still. You don't have to schedule anything.
Right. That's true.
Show up next year. Which I understand why they're doing that. A lot of people have said, oh, it's a park reservation system. But it's like, well, you're getting essentially a free ticket to an event. If you go to any other event, you would have to have a ticket for a specific date. So basically you're just saying, hey, I'm going to show up on this date. And just like, okay, we'll expect you. Like, versus now it's like any given date that APs can come. I mean, they don't really know how many are going to show up.
Wouldn't you, as the pass holder that probably goes to Universal a lot, be happy with the fact that they're probably going to limit the amount of pass holders that can go? Because it overruns the event when you have so many there.
That's why I think it ultimately will be a good thing for that.
Yeah.
I understand why people's initial reaction to it was very much like, oh, they're doing what Disney did. But it's just for one specific party that you're doing it for. So I get it, but we'll see. I mean, I think it should help with the crowds because, again, if you're limiting how many APs can come, that does hopefully help the lines be quicker and stuff like that.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear.
Definitely. All right. Well, that's all the news we're going to talk about this week, but we do have a review. We went to Wimpy's. We went to Wimpy's over at Islands of Adventure, and I'm going to read to you what the website says about Wimpy's.
Okay.
It says, as Popeye knows, nobody appreciates a good hamburger more than his pal Wimpy. That's why he supervises the creation of each mouth-watering masterpiece at this casual eatery. Join him for delicious on-the-go entrees like cheeseburgers, chicken fingers, salad, curly fries, and ice cream. It might not be spinach, but it's the next best thing.
Well, there you go. This is in Toon Lagoon, which is a very updated, it's the most relevant cartoons out there right now.
Okay, can we talk about this for just a second?
Yes.
Okay, so Toon Lagoon section, Islands of Adventure, opened with the park when it opened in 1999. Even in 99, it was dated.
Right.
Like, it was a little dated. Like, the cartoons were aging a little bit. It has been 25 years now. The land is still there. And while I do appreciate some of what's there, I mean, unless you're in your like 70s, maybe you probably won't even remember some of these cartoons. Maybe like some older millennials like us would remember the cartoons, but like kids don't.
I vaguely remember a Popeye on repeat over at my grandma's house.
But like when you were super young, right?
Yeah. I just remember, I never was like into it, but I remember it was, and I don't remember what channel it would have been on, but I do remember like reruns of those. Like sometimes you see like Woody Woodpecker and stuff like that.
I do remember Woody Woodpecker a little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not I think Islands of Adventure needs some, I guess, refreshing in some areas, I guess you could say. Especially, I think you'll definitely see it once Epic Universe opens for sure.
Yeah.
I think Toon Lagoon's one of those areas where, you could put something else in here with more relevant things. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they have an entire back section. It's all Popeye.
Right.
It's Me Ship the Olive. That's all olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
Wimpy's his friend. Then Popeye's got the bilge wrap barges,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know. Like, I walk through that and I'm like, oh, it's so cute in here. But I'm like, does anybody really know what this,
I mean,
younger generations?
Kids don't. I don't think they'd have any idea. I mean, look at our kids. They have no clue about it.
No clue.
So,
anyway, so that's where it is. Toon Lagoon, Islands of Adventure. What's the theming like, Jared?
So again, it's a quick service location based on Popeye's sidekick, Jay Wellington Wimpy, and he's known for trying to figure out ways to buy or trade for a hamburger. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today, for example. And the whole area is burger focused. They have piles of hamburgers on one of the tables. It's not real hamburgers, but whatever. And quotes like, hamburgers are a true measure of a man's worth, which I get that on some level. Listen,
I actually kind of thought of you.
I love burgers, and like this place, Jamie was like, maybe we should try this place. And I was like, I've heard good things. I was like, hey, I'm in. I
had also heard good things.
I'm not a foodie, but I'm very critical of burgers and steaks. So
yes.
This fits right into my wheelhouse.
Yeah, Jared and red meat are match made in heaven.
Well, chicken too. And tuna. Mostly just meats, but yeah, red meat's good.
All right. Well, hey, let's talk about the menu. It'll just take a couple seconds.
That's what I'm saying. There's not much to this.
It's really short.
Which, again, I think this is a strength, and you'll hear why in a minute. So you have Wellington cheeseburger platter. These are all served with curly fries, and you have chicken fingers platter. You do have a vegan supreme cheeseburger platter. It exists.
The plant-based burger, yeah.
Those are the 3 entrees you can basically get right there. Sides are curly fries. You have chips, and then there is some dessert. They have Dole Whip.
This is the only place you can get Dole Whip in Universal.
And then they have vanilla soft serve as well. And then drinks, you got soda, Powerade. They do have a couple of options for beer. And then that's it. That is the entire menu. So it's a very simple menu to choose from. And not a whole lot frills to it.
I know. Well, we decided to do basically both of the entrees. We did not get the vegan burger. We do not like plant-based burgers specifically, so we're just going to avoid that. But we did get the Wellington cheeseburger platter, and that has cheddar cheese, tomato, lettuce, pickle, onions, mayo, and ketchup. With it's $16.49 for that. And then I got the chicken finger platter, which is self-explanatory, for $12.49. My chicken fingers were average, just like you'd get in any other quick service and a theme park. I mean, they were good. I mean, they were fine. But the curly fries were really good.
Curly fries were really good.
Really good. What about the burger?
So this is going to come as a shock, I think, to some people. Many people. This is one of the best theme park burgers I've ever had. I'm not even kidding. So I actually...
do we need a sound effect to go with that? This is one of the best burgers I've ever had.
I guess we just do applause.
Maybe.
Applause sounds good. Yeah. I don't really have anything else that would work.
All right, that's fine.
Most of them just Michael Scott yelling
things. Thank you. That's true.
I would put this in the top 5 for sure. It's somewhere around maybe the number 3 spot. Again, it is better. Like the last time we had Grand Floridian Cafe, the burger there was not good. This is a much better burger than that one. I still contend the best theme park burger I've had is Steakhouse 71 over at the Contemporary. That one is an excellent burger, but this one, I mean, the bun was perfect. It had fancy sauce, which I do enjoy. Fancy sauce. Had the onions, tomato. I took tomato sauce, but lettuce. And the burger itself it's a thicker burger. Which at first I saw that and I was like, sometimes those can be dry, but it was very juicy, flavorful. I loved it. Like, it was a really, really good burger. So I would say, if you want a burger in Universal, like, I would go over here and get it. It is that good. Again, I need to get more in depth on the updated stuff, because a lot of stuff, especially like at Disney side, has changed. Some of the burgers that were really good are no longer any good, that I would not recommend.
Yeah.
This one, at this point, it's in the top 3. So I loved it. It was really good.
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned if you're in the theme parks, go get it. Now, the hours here are kind of iffy, and that's my main complaint with a lot of the quick service options at both parks. They tend to close earlier than the park does. So, like, right now, I think the hours for Wimpy's is 11 to 6 p.m., when the park closes at 8.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to eat after 6, I mean, you're not going to do it here, at least not right now. But yeah, definitely get there before 6 and you'll be able to eat there. I think they just kind of stay open when the park is the busiest.
Yeah, and it's kind of tucked away back in here, so it's not one that you just see. I mean, you have to go back there to it.
Yes.
So it's not one that gets a lot of foot traffic just from people walking by and seeing it as well.
I just heard so many things, especially like all over social media being like, oh, you got to try the Wimpy's burger. It's so good. It's just simple, but it's good. And I was like, okay.
I'd heard similar. And so I can vouch and say it is a very good burger. That's where I put it. It's Steakhouse 71 in their burger, Mythos in the lamb burger.
Yep.
And then I think this one.
Wow.
And again, you're talking
a lot.
Now, granted, a quick service hamburger is still $16, but it is very good.
Does come with the fries.
Again, the fries were very good. I was very surprised how good the fries were.
Yeah.
So the biggest issue I have with this place is just not a lot of seating.
Yep. But it's cute.
Yeah.
Again, I appreciate it, but again, I'm older, so I don't know what that means. But
I don't know what that means either.
What would you for quick service options? What would you give it? Like if you had to give it a 1 out of 10, 10 being the highest.
I mean, being quick service, I guess it could be a limiting factor of not a lot of options.
Yeah.
It depends on how you look at it. For me, I look at a place a lot of times with a simpler menu, and sometimes I think that means they do whatever they have on the menu very well.
Sometimes.
if you want a burger, I would give this like a 9 especially for quick service. Even close to a 10. If you don't want a burger, obviously, I don't know if I'd go here. The chicken fingers, like you said, they're chicken fingers. Yeah. There's nothing to write home about.
Right.
So I think it definitely, if you want a theme park burger, yeah, this is the spot to go. Especially that we've found at Universal, at least Islands, you got Mythos and this. So you got 2 places inside of Islands of Adventure that are very good for a burger.
It's true.
So if you want other options, maybe that's not the place for you.
Okay.
Not that they won't let you eat there, just you may not like it.
I mean, for me, I would give it I'll probably give it I'll say 6.5 out of 10. Just because, like I said, I got the chicken fingers, nothing to write home about. Wish there was more seating, and just kind of, they did move it a little slow. When we ordered, there weren't that many people in the line, but it kind of moved a little slow. But I think it was because of the people in line. But
possibly,
we
had some people that were arguing.
It was an odd situation. But anyway, so but yeah, I'll give it a 7.
Well, one thing I would say, and one thing I love about Universal is when you're an AP holder, you get discounts everywhere. And again, quick service. It was with our AP, we got $4 off the meal, or almost $5. So it was 4 something and change.
Nice.
So again, you do. I mean, Disney, you think you get table service and some select thing, and merchandise you get like maybe 10. So
you get 20 for merch at Disney, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So with all the quick services, you do get a discount with your AP, which I do thoroughly enjoy. So
yep. But we would recommend this. I think we would.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on the go and you're going through Chin Lagoon, you're like, hey, I'm hungry. Let's go eat at Wimpy's.
Not a bad choice.
All right, before we go, we wanted to address a rumor that's out there, we're addressing it.
Oh, okay.
So the rumor is that Universal Creative, Universal Studios, Universal Orlando are actively talking about replacing Superhero Island.
Marvel Superhero Island
at Islands. More information, Jared, please.
This originates from WDWNT. So
take that what you will.
Whatever you think about their reporting of stuff, they've had a lot of rumors lately. This is one that they were saying. They were saying that Universal Creative was actively developing something to replace this, and that it could be replaced with putting Pokemon here, and they're replacing it. Now, I have no doubt that Universal Creative has and maybe continues to develop ideas that could go into this space and maybe any other spaces inside theme parks. I'm sure they have. I think even if they had the best idea to put here, they're like, man, this would be great. We'd love it. I just don't see it happening. Again, even if you had a great idea from a business standpoint because of the agreement that they have on the Marvel stuff, and then now is with Disney. So again, if you're not familiar with the contract, Universal got the theme park rights from Marvel back in the 90s when Marvel was not doing very well, and it's in perpetuity. There's no renewing it. It just exists as long as Universal keeps the land up to the standards that are set in the contract, which means they have everything east of the Mississippi they can do there. West, this is why you see Marvel stuff in Disneyland, is because it's west of the Mississippi and they can do stuff out there. So for the reason alone that if they forfeited the land and they did something different, it would just default back to Disney. They would be handing their biggest competitor one of their biggest IPs to use in their theme parks against them as theme park wars, quote unquote, are heating up.
Yeah.
For that reason alone, I just don't see it happening. Especially just giving it up and not getting any money for it. Because at this point, you'd have to assume if Disney wanted it, I mean, you're talking billions they would pay, assumingly. That if you're Universal saying, I'm not going to give this up for, I don't know what the price tag would be, but I don't see them giving it up just for nothing. Again, even if they had a good idea. And I also think there's other areas of Islands of Adventure that need more, let's just say, reimagining or,
like Toon Lagoon, we said.
Toon Lagoon being one. There's a lot of places.
Lost Continent.
Lost Continent is one. The rumor there is Zelda and things like that. I also don't see Pokemon going in here because the rumor is that one's going in where The Simpsons is, and that makes a lot of sense to me. So I just don't think this has... Now, again, I'm not doubting that they have talked about it. I just don't think it would happen from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
Of just willingly giving it up. So,
yeah.
And again, Marvel Superhero Island, I like it. I like the fact that it's in the 90s. I grew up on that stuff. So for me, it is a bit of nostalgia, and I like that it exists there. It's a simple land, but it's still a very popular land.
Oh, yeah.
Hulk and Spider-Man are two very popular rides in the entire theme park. They just redid a lot of the stuff in there.
I really don't think they need to redo it. I really don't. At least not right now.
Well, and I had said too previously, I'm like, I could see eventually, and I've said all along, eventually I can see Disney getting the Marvel rights back. I just don't see it happening for at least in this decade. Again, because if I'm Universal, and I'm just thinking from a business standpoint, if I'm Universal, they are very limited. Now, people have asked, they cannot put new things into this area. All they can do is basically maintenance and upkeep on the existing attractions because they have to work with Marvel to develop these things, i.e. Disney.
Right.
And Disney is not going to play ball with that. So even if it's me and I say, okay, even the rides we have, this stays pat, you're going to be better off doing that versus allowing your biggest competitor to have it and then use it against you, which they undoubtedly would. Now, granted, Disney would probably take 10 years or more to do it, but they eventually would use it against you. So just from a business standpoint of keeping it out of your competitor's hands, I don't see this happening for that reason.
Okay.
So that's my 2 cents on it.
That's
Could be wrong. I again, unless Disney is willing to pay a lot of money for this, I just don't see it happening.
All right. Jared says.
Jared's opinion. Because tomorrow they could say, we're doing it. And you're like, okay, well.
Okay.
But I do think if you're from Universal's perspective, it would be a mistake.
Yeah.
If they did do that.
When I heard that rumor, I was like, that doesn't sound right.
That just doesn't. I mean, again, this contract and stuff has been talked about endlessly.
Oh my gosh, and it's so complicated. Like it's thorough too. It was like, I don't know if have you ever read it?
I've read it. In the WWNT article, they link to it. You can actually go through and read it. It's a very, it has to do with what they can use as like the Avengers and like the relations to them, which is why they have Guardians in Disney World, because that has nothing to do with the Avengers or anything that was in Islands of Adventure.
Like Star-Lord, he's meeting at Epcot now.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing. Yeah. So, Disney's tried to do like Doctor Strange stuff, which got shut down. So every once in a while you'll see, Disney sort of poke around that contract to see what Universal lawyers basically say, hey, knock it off.
Nope.
Yeah. But yeah, for that reason, I don't see it happening.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all of that. But yeah, also thank you for the rest of the episode we just talked about.
Thank you for the rest of the episode that we also talked about.
Sorry. If you want to catch more conversations like this and more of Jared talking about rumors and news and stuff, you can go to YouTube and go to Cap the Magic, and he talks about, what do you talk about? You talk about everything.
I mean, we talk obviously theme parks, Epic Universe, Disney World, sometimes other theme parks when there's news that pops up. pop culture, movies, stuff that's relevant, just talk about things that I'm kind of interested in. I just sort of make videos about and talk about. So
yeah. And if you're just listening, you can go to YouTube and go watch video versions of the podcast. And that's at CTM Podcast as well. And don't forget to check out some of the other shows on our network. Obviously, we have the Universal episodes on Mondays, two times a month. On Thursdays, we have the Disney podcast that we do, and that's news, and we usually do a topic or reviews. And like I said, that's on Thursdays. And then I do Trip Tales once a month. And I just had a new episode come out last week, so I'll have another one come out in a couple of weeks. And if you'd like to hear all about someone's experience at Disney or Universal, you can go to ctmtriptales.com and sign up to be a guest. You click on Be on Trip Tales and fill out the form. And if your trip looks like something I would like to hear more about, I would contact you. And then we're also on social media. You can go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, etc. I'm just going to say etc. And we're Cap the Magic everywhere except for TikTok. We're Capture the Magic. And yeah. Anything else, Jared?
I don't think I would add is whenever Epic Universe opens or gets close to it, this show, Universal show, will be a weekly show. So as of right now, we just do it twice a month. But
That's true. Yeah. That's true. All right. Well, hopefully we get to go to Halloween Horror Nights this weekend, and then we'll talk about it next week or the week after, somewhere in there. But we can't wait to review it because it's been a while.
Yeah. A lot of anticipation.
A lot. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you, Jared, as always.
You're very welcome.
And as I always like to say, we will see you in the parks.
Bye.